Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got a bit of fun for you today. We got 3 little button effects, and there's no coding involved in this today at all. First one there, we got a little red button. When we hover over it, it's going to rotate and turn blue. When we take the mouse off, it's going to go back to how it was. Second one, we got this little blue button. When I hover over it, it's going to grow. It's going to have a bit of box shadow. Take your mouse off, it's going to go back to where it was. Third one here, we've got our purple button. When I hover over it, it's going to expand and change shape there. When I take my mouse off, it goes back to how it was. Really easy to do. Like I say, there's no coding involved in this today at all, but they're great little eye-catching hover effects to have on mainly your desktop site. They'll work fine on tablet and mobile, but of course people will have to tap for this to actually happen. But that's entirely up to you. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Once enabled, let's go down. I've got a section, the blue tab, with a row with 3 columns. Let's add a new row. And we'll start from scratch. I'm going to put 3 columns in there. And let's add a button module to each of these columns. I'm going to simply add the little button module right here. And before I do anything, let's just align it in the middle. It's great. Okay. Well, I'm going to clone that a couple of times or duplicate it. 2 little squares to duplicate it. There's 1. There's 2. Drag them across wherever it is you want to put them. Doesn't matter which one you drag, they're all identical. Okay. Let's just get rid of that top row. Great. Well, let's start working on our first button. I'm going to go in there, dark tab for the module. Put whatever you want your button to say there, obviously. I'm going to leave mine just as it is. You're going to want to put a link in for your button. Put the URL wherever you want to take the people when they click on it right there. Always best practice. Leave it in the same window if you're linking to your own site. Open it in a new tab if you're linking off-site. Okay, well, let's get on with the fun part. I'm going to go over to my design. I'm going to go down to button. I'm going to use custom styles for the button. Styling, it's entirely up to you, so I'll keep this fairly simple. Let's make the button text color white, perhaps. And we'll make the button background here red. I don't want any border, so I'm going to take the border down to 0 on this one. And let's give it a different color on hover, perhaps. And this is common to all Divi modules. If you want to create a hover effect, hover over the dark writing within the module. If some little icons pop up and you've got a little arrow, you can create a hover effect. Go to the thing you want to affect, button background in this case. Desktop is when your mouse is not on it. Hover, obviously, when your mouse is on it. Let's change that to blue when the mouse is on it, perhaps. Okay, I'm going to flip it back to desktop. And what we want with this button is when they hover over it, I want it to rotate almost 360 and then come back when they take their mouse off. Did notice I've got a little icon there. I'm going to take that away. If we just roll down a little bit. This is where your icons are, and there's an awful lot of them to choose from. I'm going to simply turn mine to no. So we've got no icon on over there. Great. Okay, well, still in the design tab, I'm going to roll down to transform. And we've got several little tabs. We've got scale, translate, rotate, which we're going to use now, transform skew, or transform origin, which is the point that something rotates from. So let's go over to rotate. And the first one, I'm going to use this axis today, but you can use any axis you want or combinations if you wish. So again, I'm going to go up to transform. There's the little arrow. We can create a hover effect. When we first look at it, I want it to be exactly how it is. When they hover over it, I want it to rotate almost 360. We can't do 360, but we can do 359. So drag it up to close to where you want. Then there's 2 little arrows down there. You can increment it up and get it close as you can. So that's how it's going to be when they hover over it. And when they hit the non-hover, it's going to go back again. The time that it takes to go from desktop to hover state by default with Divi is 300 milliseconds. I'm going to slow mine down for a bit of grace. Let's go over to the advanced. If we roll down, we've got transitions, and this is where you'll always find transitions under the advanced. Let's up that from the default 300 to maybe 750, 3/4 of a second. You can type in, you can slide up, and again you can increment up and down with little arrows there if you want. Great, well I'm happy with that. That's our first little button. I'm not going to save and demo it. I'm going to go ahead and do the next two, and then we'll demo them all at the end there. So let's move on to button 2. What do we want this one to do? Well, again, put your title in there. I'm not going to go through the link. Same with all the buttons. We'll go straight over to design. We go into the button, custom styles. Let's perhaps start this one off as being white text, blue background. When we hover over it, turn it to purple perhaps. Again, I don't want any border on there. And also, I don't want any icon on there. But this time, I want this button to grow and have a little bit of box shadow when it gets bigger. So to do that, I'm going to do exactly the same. We're going to go down to our transform. This time, I'm going to use the first one called scale. Again, we need to roll over the dark writing, get the little arrow up. And on hover, I want it to scale up. Something like that. Let's put it up to 125, so it's 1/4 bigger. Then when they go back, it's going to go back to being blue and regular size. Great. But I do want to add some box shadow because we're in the button. It's got its own box shadow box just here. Let's pop in, say, this one. You can see a box shadow there. But I don't actually want to see any box shadow at all when we first look at this button. I only want to see it when they hover over it and it grows. So there's no little arrow when we hover over our box shadow, but what we can do is change the color of it. So it appears that there's no shadow. If we roll down, we've got our shadow color here. We hover over that, we have got a little arrow. So on desktop state, where I don't want to see it, I'm going to click on the color, just left click on it. There's a variegated slider, which is opacity. If I take that all the way down, it's going to disappear. It's going to be invisible. And for the hover state, I can do the same thing. I'll click on it and I'll roll it up until it's where we want it. As I'm rolling it up, you can see that shadow coming in. So we've got shadow and large on hover, no shadow and small on regular state. Great. Well, that's button 2. Let's move on to button 3. Let's go in there. And again, I'm going to go straight over to the design tab. Going to go down to the button, custom styles. Again, I'm going to make it white text. Let's give it a purple background this time. And let's perhaps make it green on hover. Roll on down. I don't want any border. And this one, we're going to make it get wider, and we're going to change the corners on hover, the border radius. And again, I don't want a little icon, so let's take the icon off. To change the width on the button, we need to do it with padding. So if we roll down to the spacing, we've got left and right over here, padding, not margin. I think for regular state, we can put it to about 20. It shouldn't change it. Let's get the little arrow up on the padding so we can change the hover state as well. So regular state, let's give it 20 pixels left and right. That shouldn't change it. I think that's pretty much the default there. No change. Great. When they hover over it, let's make it a lot bigger, say 50. Yeah, we can even go a little bit more than that, but that's entirely up to you. And as you can see, it's getting wider. And let's change those so it's got round corners, so it's a pill-shaped button. To do that, if we roll back up to our button in the custom styles, we can go down to border radius right here. Again, get our little arrow up. Hover state, well, I'm happy for it to be square. Hover state, let's give it a high value here, say 50 pixels, and give it nice round corners there. So it's going to go from square or oblong to being wider and having those rounded corners. And again, let's adjust the timing on this so it slows down for a bit of drama. So over to the advanced again, down to transitions. Let's maybe make this a second long, 1000 milliseconds. Speed curve I'm going to use for this is easy in and ease out. I'm going to change them all to that. Don't think we did the timing on this one. I want to slow this one down as well. So advanced. Transitions. There it is. Let's make this one, say, 600. And again, I want to use easy and ease out. Let's just check we've got that one on our first button here. That's fine, that's fine. Transition delay, if you want it to not happen for a little while, you can give it a delay and then it'll happen after a time scale. I want mine to happen straight away, but I will use ease in, ease out. That's my favorite speed curve for my hover effects. These are all subtly different. Some will work better than others in certain situations, so do check them out. But for my hover effects, that's generally what I use. Great, well, let's save our changes now. We'll save the page changes. Let's exit the Visual Builder. There's our little buttons. Let's have a look at our first one. It should spin round. Great. They can click on it, take the mouse off, it's going to go back again. Second one should grow and have a bit of box shadow and change color also. And that's taking 600 milliseconds, I believe. And third one there should expand, get wider, and should change shape over a second. And there it is. Like I say, these are great little effects to have on your site. If people are mousing around and things like this happen, it does get their attention, which is what you want on a website. And as I said earlier, these will work on tablet and mobile. Not sure if I'd have them or not. That's entirely up to you. People will actually have to tap to see the hover effect, and then tap again to actually activate the button. So there you go, guys. There's 3 little fun button hover effects for you using the inbuilt features of the Divi theme. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them down below. I'll do my best to answer them for you or make a demo video. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.